Hi guys, welcome back. In this video, I'm going to be talking about those days when we just wake up feeling anxious. We're going to be talking about why that happens, why that isn't as ominous as we think it is, and what we can actually do about changing that. I'm Timbox, and this is Clear Your Head. So recently, I had one of those days where I just woke up feeling anxious. As I was getting out of bed, I recognized my heart was beating faster than it should be. My muscles felt tense, even though I'd literally just woken up from a night's sleep. In the old days, that would have been quite a challenge for me. That would have signified that I was going to have an anxious day, and that would have meant something quite bad. And back in the old days, I remember I used to do that thing where I would do what I refer to now as my morning scan. The first thing I would do when waking up was check to see how anxious I felt, because it had implications for the rest of the day. Now, there's a couple of reasons why more often than not, I felt anxious. The first reason was a very simple one, that when we wake up, when we become conscious, our body does this thing of upping our cortisol levels, which is the stress hormone, and that's going to affect our body. Our heart is going to beat faster than it was beating when we were asleep. Very often we'll experience some visceral response to opening our eyes and starting to get up and start the day. But of course, then we add to it that thing that we're doing, which is checking for anxiety. When we regard anxiety as the monster that we're trying to avoid, checking to see if that monster's going to turn up today, that's an anxious activity. It's an anxious thing to do. So inevitably, we cause a little bit of anxiety just by performing that task. Then, when we inevitably find the anxiety we've just created, we get even more anxious about the prospect of an anxious day. Doing our morning scan is often the thing that causes us to feel anxious. Now, one of the key elements of what I regard to be my recovery, shifting my responses as it were, was to understand that anxiety isn't the monster. Anxiety isn't an indicator of illness. It's an indicator that something is playing on my mind or is demanding my attention. So it'd been a long time since I just woke feeling anxious, certainly in any degree that it kind of troubled me. But that day recently, I could feel in my body the anxiety. So this time what I did differently, I took the time to pay attention to why I might be feeling anxious. And you know, it doesn't take you long to work it out when you engage in that activity, because I realized I had a lot of stuff to do that day. So many things, in fact, there was a part of me suspecting that I didn't have enough time and energy to complete the tasks that I'd set myself that day. And they weren't trivial tasks, they were things that I wanted to get done. A couple of them, people were depending on me to get them done. A couple of them were personal things that I wanted to achieve that day. But I was inevitably putting a lot of pressure on myself to get the to-do list completed. And there was a bit of me recognizing I can't do that. Now, of course, the physical symptoms of anxiety aren't actually anxiety. They're what we would refer to as the stress response. Anytime we find ourselves under threat, our body will trigger the stress response in a kind of fight or flight action. And oftentimes, if we schedule in more to do than we feel we can actually get done, we might feel under threat. We might be letting other people down. We might be letting ourselves down. And perhaps we shouldn't be surprised when the stress response triggers. So in this instance, I needed to do something about the way I was perceiving the day that I had ahead of me. And in this instance, what I did was I gave myself permission to not complete my to-do list. Yes, I knew that all the things I wanted to do were important, but nothing's important enough to make me feel anxious or unwell even. Nothing's important enough to trouble me to the degree now where the thing I'm focusing on most is how I feel. As soon as I gave myself permission to not complete the list, it instantly took the pressure off me. It allowed me simply to focus on a single thing at a time. Because before that, my mind was racing, trying to get everything done in my head all at once. As soon as we're able to put our focus on a single thing at once, then we start to do our best work. We don't make so many mistakes. We get things done a lot faster because we're dealing with things with a clear head. And if you ask me now, I have no idea if I got everything done that day or not, because I simply stopped it being important to me that I did. I know for a fact that if I don't get something done today, I'll have the option of doing it tomorrow or the next day. And I certainly don't need to beat myself up about how much I'm getting done from day to day. So if I had to break down just a couple of top tips for managing morning anxiety, the first thing, being anxious in the morning doesn't mean you're ill. It just means your mind is focusing on something important right now. If we then frame that as a flare-up of our anxiety illness, then we'll only create more anxiety. The second thing is focus on what you're currently feeling anxious about. Do what you can to calm those thoughts in your mind, to give yourself permission to maybe not get everything done today, maybe not achieve exactly everything that you want to, and just know that if you're doing your best, you're probably doing well enough. Guys, I hope you found this video of value. If so, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel, because I put videos up every week about managing your own mind, how we deal with anxiety, how we just get ourselves operating emotionally just a little bit better. So thanks for watching this video. I'm Tim Box, Mind Coach, and until next time, keep your head clear.